What's up, everybody? We're gonna Brett and Luke here. We're gonna go live right at 7. For Saturday Sports Countdown, we're gonna be doing Saturday Sports Countdown from our podcast format today, Luke. So we're excited about that. So we hope everybody hangs in there with us, but be a little bit different. We're gonna be piping it into the TV station, so it'll be going statewide this way, but we're going to try it, and hopefully it all works out.
I don't know who I have to know and who I have to kiss up to get that Auburn Blitz thing off my head, but I'd love to know.
I'll do that. I'll help you out. Let me get that off for you. I will. Good Saturday morning to you, right?
Good Saturday morning.
Let's see if I can get that off for you, Luke. I thought you might want to try that out for a little bit.
I shan't.
You don't want to do that. So, there you go. That wasn't that bad, was it?
Oh, no. All worked out great.
Let me, we'll go here at 7, and a little after 7, we'll get rolling. How's your morning going?
Good. I woke up a little early this morning, and there we go. You there?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Woke up early this morning. Got Sela's basketball game here in a bit, and first game of the year.
So be ready to roll. So
she already said, she told me last night. Last year they had referees, but they didn't really call anything. They just sort of let them go out there and just learn the game. Right. And this year they're going to call a little bit. She said, I'm nervous for the referees. I said, honey, we're in SEC country. The referee's going to be bad no matter what you
do. They're all terrible. So, all right. So, we're about ready to get started here.
Are you coordinating with Ryan about the breaks?
Yeah. And we're about to go here. So it's about that time. So, all right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Glad to have all of you joining us wherever it is that you might be tuning us in. We won't be taking phone calls today, obviously, because we're doing it podcast style for the first time, but we appreciate everybody that's tuning us in on live stream and on our TV across the state of Alabama. Luke, good to see you this morning. I haven't had you back on Saturday Sports Countdown in quite some time, other than through being basically through the phone. So glad to have you on, buddy. We got a lot to talk about. Round 2 of the high school playoffs last night. So very, very interesting. Very, again, crazy when you look at 7A, and I know that's where we'll start. But I guess you'll start with that Thompson-Auburn game, because Auburn was number 1, and they were so dominant all year. I don't know. They just can't get it done, dude. They always fall short, come up with a game, or they don't play as well. And, Thompson hadn't played Thompson football a lot this year. I mean, they've got a good record, but their offense has been missing. And I think that was why I thought Auburn would win this game. I knew that Thompson have a good defensive effort, but they couldn't get it done, man. Just a little bit late surge there for Auburn, but it was not enough. But Thompson moves on. Auburn ends a phenomenal season there in the second round of the 7A playoffs.
Yeah, and it is a shame. I mean, that is how we determine how good your season was, is how far did you go in the playoffs. And so for Auburn, relative to their regular season, the season doesn't appear to be that great. And I hate it for them. I mean, Auburn High School deserves to be in the state championship game here one of these years. I know they've been in it before, but I mean, one time they played Thompson in the flukiest of fluke things.
They played Thompson twice.
Yeah. Actually. Well, I was just talking about that one time. With
that one. Yeah, right.
That was very bizarre. And they've what I'll say is a lot like the reason I picked Georgia to beat Ole Miss last week, which didn't happen. But my reasoning was solid in that until you break through, it's very difficult for somebody to say, oh, this team's going to break through. Until you establish yourself as, hey,
it's
I can
easier
do
said
this,
than
I can do
done.
the whole thing, then it's very difficult to predict that you're going to be able to do it. Look back on Clemsoning. Remember Clemsoning, the verb, where
Absolutely.
Clemson they
Found
would
ways to
look
lose.
good, and everybody'd finally get on the train, and then they do something to stink it up, and that was called Clemsoning. Well, Dabo Swinney set out to eliminate that term, and for a good while he did, and you got to give him credit. And from that point forward, Clemson was considered one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country for a while. Now they've taken a step back because you can't do it forever. Nobody's as good as Alabama's been, as good as Georgia's been, as good as the Lakers have been, as good as the Celtics have been, and the Yankees and the Patriots. Nobody does it forever, So but you do once you pass that hurdle. Like Thompson hadn't been Thompson, I would say, over the last couple of years. They've been good, but they hadn't been what you would consider to be like this incredibly dominant force that nobody ever wants to play against. In fact, we've seen them lose, 2 or 3 games on the season here lately. But the problem is they do know how to win. They do have that experience. So when you meet them in the playoffs, it's like we always talk about with Fife. When those teams get in there, you're like, oh man, I don't want to play them. I mean, like I want to play somebody else that doesn't know how to do this. Thompson knows how to do this. And I watched a lot of that game last night. And yeah, Auburn shot themselves in the foot with things like a muff punt, which I think led to the first touchdown. But that's part of it. Those are the things. Thompson's aura probably contributes to that. Anything.
It's Mark Freeman. Again, look, Keith Etheridge knows how to win championships too. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, that guy's won them everywhere. He's put Auburn at a level they haven't ever been. I know he's only been part of that one state championship at Auburn that they lost. And Weingarten was the one that lost the other one, the one that was so fluky, the crazy one that they had. Like you had to do 20 things wrong in like 3 minutes to lose it, and they did them all in 3 minutes. But again, I know it sucks for Auburn. They just do this every year, and I know it's disheartening. And Lee County just didn't have a good night last night. Opelika lost to Hoover in was it triple overtime? I think it was triple overtime. I listened to our buddy Van Riggs and their group on the radio last night, and man, Opelika had their chances, man. They're another team that they're just right there on the cusp and had a great season. And I thought Coach Moore did a great job of turning their program around this year. I don't think anybody saw Opelika being as good as they were this year. I had them, and most all of us said, look, they'll be fighting for 4th in that region. And everybody I talked to, Luke, said the same thing. So we weren't by ourselves, but he had them way ahead of schedule over there in a region that is just rough with Phoenix City and Carver and Enterprise. And I mean, it's just every week it's awful. Dothan lost 3 games, Luke, by 1 touchdown.
And
they would have been in the playoffs.
Carver can beat anybody, and they didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
But Hoover's another example of what we're talking about, right? I mean, Hoover has been this – I know there have been lapses in here, obviously, but Hoover's been the standard in high school football in Alabama since, this century.
Right.
And just because they've had problems, and clearly they've had some problems and some turmoil, doesn't mean the aura has left them. There's now, again, you've seen it examples like Nebraska. It left Nebraska, it left Minnesota, these colleges that were dominant at one period in time, and they aren't so much anymore. It left UCLA basketball, but it takes a long time for it to leave. It takes just as long as it takes to get it, it can take as long to leave. And Hoover, over the summer, I mean, we're sitting there sort of, giggling because things were so bad over there. And little did we know, that school still, and their students still have a lot of pride in that school. and they have decided to use it as a rallying cry. And boy, who would ever thought that Hoover and Thompson would be two schools that are playing with chips on their shoulders right now?
And you got it set up where two region teams aren't playing each other in the semifinals. It's a crossover. So Enterprise goes to Thompson and Hoover goes to Phoenix City. So you could have technically an all-region championship game for either one of those regions, which have been the best regions in 7A since the inception of 7A. But if Enterprise wins and Phoenix City wins, that's a rematch. And if Thompson and Hoover wins, that's a rematch. And you know what? They'll all be really good football games. I don't care what combination you put right there, Luke. Those are good football games.
Yeah, I'd take any of them. And, of course, they open up that Wednesday action in Birmingham this year. And
Right.
So, I mean, selfish me, I would kind of like to see Thompson and Hoover. I think there'd be monstrous crowds. It's right here in Birmingham. It's certainly easy for me to get to it. So, yeah, I'm sort of – I guess that's what I'm pulling for. I don't have a dog in the fight, so it doesn't matter to me anyway. But I think it would be good for the city of Birmingham. And there's some people that say, hey, wouldn't it be better if teams that weren't living in Birmingham, wouldn't that be better? Well, I think what we've learned is more often than not, people may just come up to the game and turn around and go home instead of, buying the hotel rooms and things
Right.
like that. So I don't think that's going to be a big deal. But I think Thompson Hoover in protective. I always get those mixed up.
We always say progressive. Everybody says progressive. So
Is there anybody getting more use out of things being missed out? It's always going to be the Poulan Weed Eater Bowl, and it's always going to be Progressive Stadium.
Does Poulan still make Weed Eater?
I don't even know if they still make Weed Eater.
I mean, they're not even in business. They're still getting advertising. So anyway,
Still a standard. That's what I'm saying, Brett. Your aura.
It's still not as big of a publicity stunt as that fight was last night. We'll talk about that later. That was awful.
Let's get it out of the way, because I'm going to tell you this. Number one,
I'll tell you what. Let's do first. Let's go to our first break and try this out. Make sure we're all good with everybody watching on TV and all. So all of us back in the studio. So we're going to go ahead and take our first break here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. Luke and I will stay up live, obviously online, but we will go to commercial break on TV. We'll be back with you here in just a little bit with more Saturday Sports Countdown. So we can talk about so I got to go 3 minutes and 15 seconds here.
All right. How do you have a stopwatch? What do you have?
Yep.
So did Ryan give you a signal?
I've got a sheet that I'm going off of.
Okay. So you have to.
Yeah. And at 3:15, when 3 minutes, 15 seconds go off, I know to come back.
All right. I think the thing
pretty effortless.
Here's what I wonder. What if you were at the station and I was here?
I could do that.
And if you do that, could Ryan then handle?
Absolutely. He can be, I can hear him and we can go back and forth and be easy.
Wouldn't that be easier?
Yeah, a lot easier. Heck yeah.
Well,
I can do it because it's only a 3-minute drive for me, and then y'all can be wherever y'all want to be.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it going forward. Especially,
Sure.
Still have the split screen thing.
Right. I wanted to try it from 2 locations with the
Sure
signal and all. So
because
I'm gonna put the monitor on. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, how y'all doing? I see Tony Bamberg has chimed in with a comment. 5A bracket is going to be absolute cinema, not an absolute cinema. But it is. 5A bracket, pretty crazy. Love seeing Clay Central or Central Clay or somebody. I love their opportunity here. Always pull for Danny Horn to get another state championship. I think 6A is going to be kind of fun. Watched some of the Parker Mountain Brook game last night. Parker's just got dudes. Now, at times, they can be rather undisciplined. But at other times, John Coley says, hi, we get to look behind the curtain today. I mean, I can pull that curtain back and look back there if you'd like to. I could do this like
Do what?
Or I could do this like Sports Bits Cribs. I could just take everybody around the house.
That's what we can do when you go on a tour. So Yeah, we look like we're good, man, on TV. Everything looks great. Well, we are moving up into the 15th century.
I'm telling you, look, and right after this, I'm going out with my mace and I'm going to attack a wild boar for dinner tonight.
With Mike Tyson walking around naked. So,
but Justin said, let's look behind right behind me are the original Beard Eves Memorial Coliseum curtains.
Either that or Kalijah Country's curtains. Right there at the entrance of the
They're not smoky enough for the Kalijah Country curtains.
Right.
John Gully says, as long as Ben Morris didn't try to interrupt your stream as he did after the Bama game. It's true.
Man, those games are wild. And we'll get back into we'll come back. We'll talk about Tyson and Paul. Good God. What a publicity stunt that was. I mean, Jake Paul could have really destroyed him, and he didn't want to do it because he had respect for him and all that. But good grief.
I mean, I still say if they were in the street and bumped into each other, I'm still taking Tyson. Maybe it's sort of like, I'm taking Thompson over.
Right. Here we go. All right, we're back on the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Glad all of you have joined us out there. We'll take your comments on YouTube and Facebook as we roll along this morning. And we talked a little bit about the couple of games in 7A. We're going to talk about all the results from last night and then get you set for round 3. And actually the semifinal round for 7A now because they only have 3 rounds. But Luke, got to say something about one of the biggest publicity stunts ever in sports history last night with Logan Paul fighting Mike Tyson. And look, it was sad, and this was nothing but a money grab for everybody. You could tell they only went 8 rounds, and they were only 2 minutes. And I don't know that either one of them punched each other hardly at all. And you could hear people going, booing and all. And I think maybe Mike Tyson really gave it hell on the first round. And after that, his legs said, man, hey, you can do whatever you want. But I'm just going to stand here and kind of hop around and wait till 2 minutes is over. And I'm going to go sit down. The best fight was the woman fight. Now, they beat the heck out of each other.
Well, Brett, I'm 52 now. And I was still going out as of relatively recently and playing basketball with a bunch of guys who were somewhere between 18 and 31. And I kept going, man, I should be able to play with these guys. And I kept getting my butt kicked. And it finally dawned on me, I can't do this anymore. And so, I got a Baker's cyst on my knee and I was barely able to move. My ankles were killing me. I got the gout for some reason, which was totally unrelated to that, but it speaks to my age. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I need to quit pretending that I can do this. And Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson. And we remember him as this icon of boxing. And he was. How many people have a video game? It wasn't called Boxing's Punch Out. It was Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Because he would knock you into next week until Buster Douglas, because Mike was having, I guess, women problems, Buster Douglas was able to knock him out. And then Mike just wasn't ever really the same, right?
Yeah, the aura just had left at that point.
But that was 25, 30 years ago. And now he's 58 years old out there trying to fight a dude who does nothing but drink that prime drink or whatever it is. And that dude's hopped up on goofballs, and he's able to outlast Mike. I still maintain this. If they were out in the street and a squabble broke out, Mike would kill him. He might not beat him in a fight, but he'd kill him. Right. Now, in the boxing ring, though, and here's the other thing. Why do we keep falling for this?
Every time. We
are the dummies. We're the dumb. I already had Netflix, but I went to bed because you know why? I kept seeing all over social media.
It was terrible, by the way. It glitched all night.
Awful. And The Simpsons had a great take on this a long time ago. They said, it was like that great fight when we saw Dredrick Tatum, who was the Simpsons version of Mike Tyson.
Right.
Dredrick Tatum fight Secretariat in international waters. And if they if they put that out there, we'd buy it and we'd be like, wait a minute.
This is
a dude
you remember
a horse that
do you
is
remember
dead.
do you remember growing up that Geraldo Rivera went looking for Al Capone's lost vaults and made this big deal, and it was going to be on network TV, and they found the vaults, and they're going to go in there, and it was this like 2-hour ordeal, and everybody was on the edge of their seat, and
he
they
didn't even have baby pictures.
They went down there and opened the door, and there wasn't anything in there. Like we were expecting him to open up this vault and there'd be all this money flowing out and stuff. And it was like he turned around, with Geraldo with that mustache and goes, well, there's nothing in there. And the show ended, and that was the beginning of live on air promotional scams that sucked people in saying, I just got to watch this. Even though I know it's fake, I'm going to watch it. But look, Luke, we have a following in this country with WWF and WCW and pro wrestling. Literally, people follow that stuff and rabidly follow it and spend unbelievable amounts of money to go watch it. And they know the crap's fake. But
it's entertaining.
It's entertaining. Yeah,
we know the Avengers Endgame is fake, but it's entertaining to watch. Hey, you know what? And every one of us has done this. If I really put my mind to it, I might be able to build me an iron suit. But you couldn't.
Right.
But there's part of us that believes for a second we could. And those things are fun. But see, what I get mad about is when you sell me on something like, is Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. By the way, the whole Paul Tyson thing was trending last night, and everybody was like, oh my God, he's not coming back to Alabama, is he? Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, and they really don't like each other. I mean, well, why don't they like each other? They're 3 generations apart.
Right.
They're different ethnicities. They grew up in different backgrounds. What could they possibly hate about each other?
But the lore of that whole deal, Luke, was us going, hey, can Mike Tyson really knock this punk out? And Logan Paul said John Paul. Logan Paul played the part of the villain. It's like he ran his mouth. They got on stage, and then Tyson slapped him in the promo.
He did slap him.
Yeah, he said, I'm going to get one punch in. He said, okay, I'm going to slap you on stage. And Logan Paul's like, yeah, that's going to be cool for promotion until Tyson really slapped him. And he went, oh, crap, that hurt.
he needed that beard to cushion that blow. I like what you said earlier. I like your idea better where you said John Paul. I would have rather seen Mike Tyson fight Pope John Paul. I would have much preferred that.
It'd have been a better fight. But like Logan Paul, they had obviously orchestrated all that, and they got in there, and it was like, but the lore of, hey, can he actually at 58 maybe punch this punk out? Because you build it up for everybody to hate one of them, and it was like the feel-good story of Mike Tyson, who'd won 50 matches or boxing matches, and then was just that guy, and then kind of went away, and then he's been in The Hangover and all these movies, and then he's like, can he get one punch in on this jerk and knock him out? And of course, after the first round, he couldn't even pick his legs up. It was like all you heard was Roy Jones going, man, I don't like this. I don't like this, man.
Well, you used to hear when there was boxing matches and you were fighting Mike Tyson. Yeah, you'd hear crunches because that was his fist knocking somebody's teeth down their throat.
Correct.
You heard crunches this time, and it was mostly arthritis.
Yeah, right. And he's probably I know he everybody got a shot of Mike Tyson. Maybe that was his parting shot during that little live break-in where he walked off and didn't have any clothes on. All you saw was his butt.
He walked away. I'm gonna tell you what, he still got a boxer's behind, I guess. I mean, that thing hadn't left. I mean, that thing hadn't flabbed up on him or nothing. Why he was wearing buttless chaps, I don't know, but he had them on because I was like, everybody was like, okay, it was worth the buffering just to see that, not because anybody was turned on, just because that
was his party. No,
Tyson's butt looks like. Oh, there it is.
No pun intended. That was his parting shot. So he said, I'll see you. All right, we're going to take a break on the TV side. We'll come back with more Saturday Sports Countdown right after this. All right, so we should be down. I took a picture of us on the TV, man. We are on a 70-inch TV. It is me and you.
Let me see. Put your phone up. Let me see it.
All right.
God Almighty!
I mean, and when people turn that on in the morning, they're flipping around. I'm like, whoa! They are literally in our living room.
Oh, we can do a border with topics down the side like I do on Locked On Bama. You know, if you get that
Right. Yeah, we can do the board. Yeah, that'll be cool. We can do topics. Tony said if Tyson was in his prime, it would not have been close. Hey, no doubt. I mean, no doubt about it. So
the problem was Tyson wasn't in his prime, and Jake Paul's been guzzling prime. Let me go see if Sela's awake. Hang on.
All right, okay. I'm glad you had pants on.
Yeah.
What games are interesting to everybody out there for the next round? Going to be some really good high school football games next round. Justin said we just needed Netflix to be in their prime. No kidding. John, you like this format. I'm glad. Yes, I that's exactly what I said when we started this. I said when we talked about it this week, I said this will be like old Auburn Blitz days where we stay up during the break and we can chat with y'all and talk while the TV rolls, and it's the best of both worlds. I hope Luke comes back and not pulling a Mike Tyson for us this morning. If you'd have gotten up and walked off and had chaplets on, I would have probably shut it down.
Kind of wish I had. Now I wish I'd thought about it.
Yeah, like John loves it. He said the old days of Auburn Blitz where we went down and stayed live online and we could talk back and forth with people. Kind of gives us a little bit of a laid back feel. Kyle said, I don't know, but I'll say this, that 2-minute clip of you saying, what's it like being an Auburn fan for 9 months was great. I've had a lot of –
What'd you say?
I'll recap it for you, okay, Luke, today. I'll give you the 9-month, 2-minute Auburn fan recap. The cycle of emotions that we go through in a 9-month period, getting ready for football season. After football season ends, I'll go through that.
I mean, I know the symptoms. I mean, I see people go through it. I've seen and I'm like, they've got Auburnitis.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Don't pound me too hard. I'm gonna put that Auburn Blitz logo above your head again. All right, here we go back. We're coming back. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. And glad to have everybody with us on TV, on radio, online. Got a lot of people watching. I got a lot of comments coming in. Luke, it's good to see you again this morning. And we just went on a little bit of a rant about the Tyson Paul matchup last night. And while you walked off, Justin said we needed Netflix to be in their prime. We didn't need them to be in their prime. We needed that's another thing. That was the first time in the promotion and Netflix, like, we're about to bring all this in and show this live event. And their stream, everybody, the trending topic everywhere was, man, I'm spinning, it's buffering, it's in and out. And so I guess they said, look, we're going to put a fake fight on as a test run on our live stream. Maybe that's what that was a test on their live stream capability.
As you know, I love old Simpsons. And there was another Simpsons one time about a reviewer talking about Baskin Robbins. And he said, why do you have 31 flavors when you can't get vanilla right? And that's the way I look at some of these streaming services, always looking for new revenue streams. We got to find new ways to make money.
Right.
Hey, Netflix, we just need you to do we don't need y'all doing live sports.
Why?
I'm already tired of last night or 2 nights ago, I had to watch my NFL game on Amazon Prime.
I know that sucks too.
Last night, I had to buy Peacock for 15 or 2 hours so I could watch Alabama lose to Purdue. And then I had to have Netflix to watch an old man fight a young weirdo. And I'm just tired of it. I mean, quit making me pay for everything. Y'all are killing me to death.
Yeah, we're priced to death. You can't get I'm gonna say this. I love streaming. I love what we're doing. I mean, we're able to do different things. But guess what didn't buffer? Old cable.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what didn't go out? A hard line. And we all in this world think, oh, we can do it better and faster. And now the delivery methods, to me, are worse than the way we used to do it years ago, and a lot less reliable. So, I mean, and of course, you only had to buy one package, and you could get everything. Now you got to buy Disney Plus, and now you got to buy Amazon Prime. Now you got to buy Paramount. Now you got to buy. I mean, it's just like, dude, you're spending I'm going to save you money on all this. It's like, man, by the time I add all this up, my house is less. My house payment's less than my subscriptions.
They have a subscription for something to tell if you're using too many subscriptions. That's when we know we've jumped the shark, Fonzie style.
Yeah, I mean, it is. John said some channels would buffer on old cable, but if you didn't pay for them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, satellite too, the scrambled. They did that on purpose, John, because you weren't paying them. When you did pay for them, they unscrambled them. Now you pay for them and they scramble anyway.
John sounds like a guy who used to watch some late night cinema.
Yeah, I think it was some really hard look. That's why people's eyes are so bad in our generation, Luke, because everybody.
I think I can make out the silhouette here. This will get the job done.
All right, let's get back into high school football. That was a good segue. All right, we talked about 7A last night. Phoenix City knocked off Vestavia 41-21. Enterprise knocked off Baker 30-14. That's a big win. That was a big win for Enterprise. And, we just talked about the setup there. So anything you want to add about those two games?
Not really. I'm really liking where the third round games are headed. I think there's going to be some fun ones in there. But, this Enterprise team's pretty strong.
Let's jump up to 6A results from last night. Pike Road went on the road and destroyed St. Paul's.
That one stood out to me.
Did not see that one coming at all.
44, I didn't either. And, hey, more power to them. I just didn't think Pike Road had that in them, but they do. And, I mean, they're
getting better. They struggled at the beginning of the year. Now, they're 9-3, but they struggled at the beginning of the year, man, and they are hitting their stride big time right now. They are.
I think that was sort of the theme last night, too. I saw a lot of teams with 3 and 4 losses making their way into this third round.
Right.
And I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it just lets me know that maybe some of these teams played tough out-of-conference schedules, something like that, and to get better for the playoffs. And it does make me think about the playoffs, how that would relate to the college eventually, but that's something else.
Hueytown beats Spanish Fort. Nothing personal to any Spanish Fort fan watching, but I was glad to watch that or see that result because I'm so sick of going to Spanish Fort and losing. We've lost so many close games as Benjamin Russell, and they've never had to come up here. We've always had to go there. And by the way, I think they've got a 34-2 record at home all time. Spanish Fort's they're invincible on the hill. They call it down there, Luke. And when they come on the road, as you see, a 9-3 Hueytown team, they're vulnerable. So, but again, that's sour grapes for me because I want to win. But Spanish Fort's got a good program, and they are. When you go down there, you know what you're getting. It's hard to win down there, but Spanish Fort falls short. They lose 21-14. Saraland, I need this one. We said it. They would destroy McAdory. They did 49-14. Spain Park knocks off Russell County 45-30. But, Russell County, and I know they scored maybe a score late, but, I mean, great quarterback, great season, 9-3. And Pike Road beat them to win that region, Luke, or that would have been Russell County playing St. Paul's and maybe moving on. So, a good season for Russell County. Good for those guys over there.
Yeah, happy for them. Certainly, it's always fun to see at least 1 or 2 new faces in the championships because those fans come in completely fired up. Now, what we've noticed is a lot of times those teams also get buried because they're not used to how big the situation
Right.
is. But I do like to see a lot of enthusiasm, and I think having this thing at Protective Stadium again, I think it's a brilliant idea. I hope it stays there.
Spain Park's got a real good chance of being there.
They do.
Representing, and I'm telling you, man, it's been good to them dropping down a classification. They're a good football team.
And think about Jared Smith was on that team.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
They lose him, and they're still in the position they're in. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, and then I'm about to talk about Clay Chalkwell losing, and DJ Barber was on Clay Chalkwell. Now he's on Spain Park, and he's moving on. And Clay Chalkwell's run at a defending state titles over as they lost to Muscle Shoals 31-21. Tough out for them. Kind of come back to reality a little bit for Clay Chalkwell. Still had a good year, but lost 31-21 there to Muscle Shoals, who always has a great football team, Luke.
Yeah, doesn't it feel like Muscle Shoals is always great and they always lose about this time? So this is one of those get over the hump moments we were talking about earlier.
Yep, no doubt. A couple more scores and we'll go to our next break. On the TV side, Parker is having a phenomenal year. Their only loss is to Carrollton, Georgia. They beat Mountain Brook 28-7. Fort Payne knocked off Homewood in an unbelievable back and forth game. I think that lead changed 3 or 4 times at the end of the game. Fort Payne won 35-32, and then Oxford remains undefeated, and they knock off Hartselle 34-14, and Hartselle jumped out 14-0 in that game, so they came back and scored 34 and answered. Your thoughts real quick before we go to break.
Very quick on the Mountain Brook Parker game. I watched some of that, and Mountain Brook's a good team. Parker just has too many athletes. The one thing that may trip Parker up, they looked incredibly undisciplined at times last night. I mean, a lot of chirping, a lot of like jumping over the line to try and block a field goal well before the ball was snapped.
Right.
A lot of sort of get in your face type stuff. And that may end up costing them a game somewhere in here.
Yeah, all right. We're going to keep running down scores and get your matchup set for round number 3 here as we come back from break. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown coming up right after this.
Let me go.
Yeah, this is simple, man. This is great.
Yeah, this is a lot better, isn't it?
Absolutely. Let me go cut this off real quick. I know that Kason Myers was injured after the Russell County game. Don't know if he's back or not. Their backup quarterback, only a freshman, is incredible. You talking about Pike Road, Tony? Is that what you're referring to? More of Andy on the bus streams, Justin. I don't know if I can handle that anymore. That was loud, and everybody, it was funny because everybody was watching him and watching us, and they're like, "What are they talking about?" Of course, it made it better, I guess, for viewership when Auburn lost, and we were all kind of ranting. But, all right, now it's my turn to get up. I got to go do something real quick.
All right.
I'm about to Mike Tyson you.
So. Tyson's was better. Justin says he wants more of Andy on the bus streams. That is pretty funny. I'll tell you, for those who don't know, so if you are watching this, you check out Locked on Bama 2. Last night I went live, just me. I normally have a co-host, Jimmy Stein, that does it with me. But I just did me after the Purdue game last night because a lot of people were just losing their minds. Can't believe we lost. Purdue's a good team. We'll talk about it a bit. But this going live stuff is so great. Like Jimmy and I aren't perfect at it. Jimmy far less perfect than I. But I have been able to do like live streams from when I was in Austin, Texas. The Texas game in 22. I think I did one in Wisconsin. I can't remember this past year. So it's a lot of fun to be able to do these live streams and connect and give people a sense of what it's like, what is actually going on.
Right.
Moment.
Well, you get your instant reaction. We'll be going live after the Auburn game today. after La Monroe. So
I will too even after the Mercer game. I mean, it's funny for Jimmy and me. We're like, at first it was sort of like they kept locked on, encouraged us to do it, and we're like, boy, I think more people want to hear like the coach's show or something.
right.
And no, I think it's the other way around. I think people are like, we know what the coach is going to say. We don't know what you two morons are going to say.
Right.
Oh,
here we go. We're coming back here in about 10 seconds. All right, everybody. Welcome back here on the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Brett and Luke here with you. Obviously, not taking your phone calls this morning because we're on the podcast format, but we are taking your comments. We got a lot of them that have come in so far this morning. And here in the first hour, like we always do, we're running down high school football during football season. We're in second round results right now. We've talked about 7A and 6A. We'll dump down into 5A. We'll get your thoughts on this. This is going to be a fun bracket moving forward. Montgomery Catholic knocked off Citronelle 43-0. That was a 9-2 Citronelle team, by the way, that they went down there and destroyed. They have not had a close one. Central Clay did what they've been doing to everybody all year, saved Benjamin Russell. They beat Ben Russell by 1 touchdown, but outside of that, they've destroyed everybody. They won 31-6 over Williamson, who was 10-1, Luke. Viger 11-1 over Eufaula. Over Eufaula 41-0. Viger, man, you and I talk about them all the time. We'll come back and give some thoughts on that. But man, when they're playing like this, they're hard out. And then UMS Wright and Terry Curtis, all they do is keep doing what they do when they get to the playoffs. They beat Andalusia in an old school 7-6 game, but they had a losing record going into the playoffs, and they beat Demopolis last week. Now they've beaten Andalusia. So they just keep rocking and rolling, man. Now, this is not the best UMS Wright team, but guess what? They're in the third round again, and goes back to what you said about Mark Freeman and some of these coaches and some of this aura around these programs. They just know how to win when it gets this time of year.
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, that's UMS Wright's just another program. I don't care if they come into the playoffs, you're like, there's 3-7 team. You better still take them pretty serious because they got a coaching staff. I don't know if they always have dudes, but they have a coaching staff that knows where to get their players in position to win. And you say, well, they're 3-7. There may have been the coaching staff may have scheduled this Herculean slate for them to go through just so they can learn to get ready for the playoffs. It does fundamentally change the way you address the regular season when you know how to have success in the playoffs. All of a sudden, you're not so worried about going 10-0 in the regular season. That's pretty and that's nice, and it's certainly something ancillary you may choose to do and hope you happens. But I'd much rather go 5-5, get in the playoffs, be battle tested, and start turning it on there.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. The other side of 5A, Moody, 9-2. Their only 2 losses are to Oxford in Gainesville, Georgia, where Josh Niblett is, who's having a great year. They went over Winona 34-0. Ramsey knocks off Scottsboro 40-27. They've turned their season around after starting 1-3. So they're playing great. Corner is really playing well. They're 11-1. They knocked off Boaz 52-42. And Leeds knocked off Fairview 36-22. I want to go on down to 5A and look the matchups for next week. Central Clay at Montgomery Catholic, 12-0 versus 11-0. Look, I know Viger's great, and UMS will go to Viger, and I know that Moody on the top side and that Ramsey game will be good. But Luke, to me, this may be the winner may come out of this.
Yeah, that may be the game of the whole playoffs next week. And it is at Montgomery Catholic?
It is at Catholic, yep.
I don't really care where it is. I like Montgomery Catholic. I like this team a lot, but Danny Horn just does his thing. I'm not going to predict Danny Horn to lose until I see him lose. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Good matchups in 5A there, but I had to just highlight that, and we'll talk more about that if you got a comment, question. Chris said Goes to show you it's all about coaching and knowing your team when they're tired. And, of course, you will never get any consistent calls when you go to Spanish Fort. Hueytown was in better shape than Spanish Fort, and Ben Russell was in worse shape than Spanish Fort. So he said the coaching wasn't very good. He didn't use that term. He said it was horrible. Again, you're right. I mean, I don't think the game was coached badly at Ben Russell Spanish Fort. I just think that look, we made a play at the end of the third quarter, and it was a touchdown, and we would have gone up 35-28, and we had the momentum, and they took it away on a penalty way behind the play. And it's kind of unfortunate. You kind of wait on something like that to happen down there. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But anyway, it happened, and then we just didn't recover from it. And they went on, drove back down the field and scored, took the lead for the first time since early in the first quarter, and it kind of just shifted all the momentum. But all right, go to 4A, Luke. Fairfield knocked off WS&L. St. Michael Catholic. I went down and talked to Phillip Rivers a few weeks ago. His son, Gunner Rivers, is phenomenal.
He's a dude.
They went to Pleasant Grove. We all know Daryl LeBeau, hard out, man. Great football team. But this St. Michael program's ahead of schedule. They score a bunch of points. That was a big win for them. And they move on in 4A, and they win 38-24. You better watch this team. If they don't get over the hump this year, watch them over the next couple of years down there. They've only been around since 2017. So that's a good football team there.
I also really appreciate Phillip Rivers being down there and being involved in high school sports. I mean, there's a guy who's got 10, 11, 12 kids. He's got enough on his plate. But
about $50 million too.
He's got a gazillion dollars. That's true. That's what I'm saying. He could be doing anything else. I mean, he could buy an island for just him and his kids.
Right.
And just, say this is what we're going to do.
He needs an island for all of you.
Yeah, Australia. But anyway, he could be doing all that. But, he's involved. I mean, he just loves high school football. And there's a part of me that really loves that. A lot of people would make that kind of money and sort of disappear into the ether. And he's boots on the ground, man.
Justin said that's actually somebody with more kids than you. So you and him may need to get together.
Look, I'm not even in his area code. No, I'm in 4A. He's in 12A.
He's in a different solar system than you.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on from that,
Jackson, he can probably find more people that want to have kids with him.
That's right. That's right. Jackson and Bibb County, man. Jackson shut out Bibb County last night, 51-0. But Jackson, me and Randy have talked about this. They may be one of the best teams up and down classifications, period. I mean, They can go up into 6A. Now, 7A might be a stretch, but I don't know, man. They're that good. What a great performance they've had this year. Dominated everybody they played.
Yeah, I like them a lot. Always like Jackson. They always seem to be right in the middle of it.
Great quarterback, man.
Great quarterback. Dickerson, I think, right?
Yeah.
Is that his name? And he he's committed to South Carolina at one time, no longer committed to South Carolina, but he's a dude, and he's only a junior.
Right. He's going to have plenty of opportunity to go where he wants to. And then Tallahassee Tigers, man, what a great return to prominence. 9-2 now, knock off Ashford 40-14. Took L.A. O'Neal, Luke, 1 year. 1 year. He inherited a program that had one win, and now they go 9-2, and they're in the third round of playoffs. That guy can coach. Watch out for Tallahassee over the next several years. Now, they got to play Jackson next round. But you watch out for them, dude. I'm telling you, over the next few years in 4A football, they're going to be a force.
You always talk about, well, is it the Jimmies and the Joes, or is it the X's and the O's? Is it the schedule? Is it the environment? Is it the culture? It is an amalgam of all these things, right? But I think in high school, I think you could weight it differently by stages. Like in Little League, if you've got the one guy, there's always one guy in your class who's faster, bigger, stronger than everybody. If you've got him, you're going to win a lot of games. But by the time you get to high school, I think that good coaching in high school probably trumps all those other factors. Yes, great to have a loaded team. There's no doubt. But if you give a mediocre team of talent and you give it O'Neal or you give it to Danny Horn, something like that,
Or
they're
Terry
going to
Curtis.
make them good.
Yeah.
They're going to make them better than just about any other coach would. And then obviously when you get into college, it probably starts to even out a little bit, like the environment and the culture can be a little. And then when you get in the pros, if you ain't got a quarterback, you can forget it.
No doubt.
All the rest of it doesn't matter. Bill Belichick wasn't worth a dang until he got Tom Brady came on the scene. So
you got to put all of it together. So all right, we're going to take another break for TV. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Let me tell her to text her iPad.
All right. Yeah, some good matchups, guys. I'm telling you. Coming up in the third round. And 7A will be in the semifinals. So big time games next week for them. And there's Hoover once again back in the mix after all the all-season turmoil going into the season, losing your head coach and kind of having to regroup. So a lot of people felt like they would kind of drop off a little bit. And then, Phoenix City maybe hadn't played as well at times, but they're catching their stride at the right time. And that's going to be a good football game between those two. Hoover and Phoenix City will be a great game next week over in Phoenix City. We'll head over there for the game of the week, by the way, on WOTM. Me and Lauren will head over this coming up week to highlight Phoenix City as they host the semifinal round of the playoffs. And I'll catch up with Coach Pat Nix. And they're the defending 7A champs. See if they can get it done. Clay Chaltville's already bit the dust. They lost last night in 6A. So we'll have a new state champion in 6A. And I know Saraland's got their eyes on that one. There's some other good teams in 6A too, so we'll have to follow that. Wouldn't be shocked if Spain Park ends up winning that one all the way through. Everybody was kind of talking. That's what I was saying, Luke. Everybody's kind of talking about Phoenix City hadn't really shown. I mean, they lost Cam Coleman, some other guys, but they're catching their stride at the right time. They're the defending champs. And look, Hoover's got to come to them. I would say I'd like Phoenix City in that game, and we'll see how it plays out. Could be a rematch of a Thompson Phoenix City state championship game, and I think that's probably what everybody had on their bingo card to begin with anyway.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, it all sort of comes back in a weird way. It all comes back to what you thought. By the way, if one of us ever has to leave or do whatever, you can maximize your screen or maximize my screen. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
All right, here we go. Coming back in about 15 seconds. Watching it on the TV side over here too, man. It's flawless so far. Knock on wood. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Want to say a big thank you to both of them. We're at JR's every week doing the Lake Martin Sports Roundup show. Luke, it will be 20 years next year for us at Sports Blitz. So in August of 2025, we will be celebrating our 20th anniversary of Sports Blitz programming, man. So we're excited about that, but that's kind of like everybody congratulating me for 25 years of broadcasting. I told everybody I appreciated it, but all that meant was I was old. So but anyway, we're glad to still be doing this, and it's exciting. But thanks to JR's, thanks to Kevin Kill and Sunshine Heating and Air for all they do for our programming. Finishing up 4A, Cherokee County knocked off Central Florence 41-14. Brooks over Alexandria 41-35. Anniston 7-5. Luke, they move on. They beat Good Hope 43-14. Again, another program that just figures out ways to win. And West Morgan continues their undefeated season. They knock off Madison Academy 28-7. Down in 3A football, Southside Selma. This was a crazy game last night. Derek Smith, brother Eric Smith, really, really dynamic players. Southside Selma knocks off Montgomery Academy 44-34. That was a matchup of 2 10-2 teams. So really good football game there.
Yeah, and it's, Eric Smith just committed to Auburn with his brother. Much different type of player. I mean, it's weird you see twins like that, and they're pretty different.
Yeah.
But just interesting, and I would love to see these guys make it to the state championships just to see what they bring to the table.
Bayside Academy knocks off Alabama Christian 23-7. T.R. Miller's the class of 3A though. They knock off Trinity 21-7. They're undefeated. They haven't really been challenged this year. Houston Academy knocks off Thomasville 45-33. Piedmont runs away from Lauderdale County 21-6. Fife 9-2, kind of an uncharacteristic year for Fife, but they knock off Bordeaux, who was 10-1, 42-14. So here's Fife saying, "Look, this is another example, Luke. Don't count us out. We may have lost a game or two, and everybody kind of freaked out, but there's Paul Benefield, and it's kind of." I've talked to several people around the state, and this could be Paul Benefield's last year. So we'll see how it all plays out. Again, we hear those rumors for other coaches too, and they end up staying. Winfield knocks off Sylvania 35-20, and Mars Hill beats Geraldine 27-21. So some thoughts in 3A there. To me, it's T.R. Miller and then everybody else.
Yeah, but I mean, Fife is Fife, and I don't ever count Fife
but
out.
They moved up a class to 3A, but that didn't matter.
They got it all, though. They got talent and coaching and culture and tradition, and they have all the things I think you need to win a state championship every year. So, I mean, if you ask me for, I guess, a dark horse, I'd call it Fife.
Glenn said Wadley's game was over before half. It was. We'll get to that. We're moving our way up to 1A here in just a minute. In Class 2A, Cottonwood knocked off Goshen 52-24. The Reeltown Rebels destroyed Laverne 57-14. Again, their only loss was to that T.R. Miller team, Luke. Reeltown runner-up in 2A last year. Man, I like their chances of winning it all. Ayrton knocks off Clark County 27-7. Highland Home finds himself undefeated again. They destroyed Providence Christian 42-6, setting up basically a collision course again. If you look down at 2A, and we'll go back through these, Highland Home, if they win next week and Reeltown wins next week, there'll be a matchup in the semifinals to see who goes to a state title game. So, man, there's some really good football potentially the next couple weeks there. And then Pisgah knocks off Faultville 42-14. Pisgah is the number one team in 2A right now. Tuscaloosa Academy over Susan Moore 34-9. Winston County over Vincent 26-20, and Sulligent knocked off Southeastern 38-24, and that's your 2A. But Luke, Reeltown, man, I mean, it's every year here lately.
Yeah, and I'm happy for them. Moderately local squad that I like to pull for. I like to pull for teams that are near us to do well. So I think it's always good for the community around here, and they are just strong.
They'll take on Cottonwood next week, who is undefeated. So a little bit of a test there for Reeltown before they look forward to that possibility of Highland Home there in the semifinals. Okay, 1A football, Milry over McKenzie, 35-28, Maplesville and Sweetwater. Talk about two classic traditional HSA teams, 21-20, Maplesville knocks off Sweetwater. Man, I don't know if you could script anything better than that.
Outside of Opelika Hoover, that'd probably be the one game I'd love to watch as on a replay. I mean, I think that, I know the athletes aren't necessarily the same, but the quality of football is.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a fabulous game to have seen.
Georgiana over Leroy 16-14. That was a great football game there. Maybe a little bit of a shock because Leroy was 10-1. Georgiana was 8-3. or 8-4 rather. And Elba with Alvin Henderson again ran away from a team 49-14. They improved to 10-2 on the year.
Yeah, I really want him to get to Birmingham as well. Again, no dog in the fight, but I just like to see the best players out there. And it'll be fun to see him trying to probably break several records for state championship games.
Yeah, any records he hasn't broken already.
Yeah.
All right, Wadley, man, destroyed Meek 55-22. They're the number one team in 1A, and it's going to take a great effort from somebody to knock them off. Barry knocks off Spring Garden 6-0. Don't see that much anymore. Lynn over Appalachian 28-12, and Hackleburg over Winterboro 49-12. Luke, Wadley, better watch out for him.
Always. I always feel like Wadley's underappreciated in the state. I mean, they always seem to be right in the mix.
They are. And then, 1A football, unfortunately, and we hear it from people around the state. We got great football, but we just don't get the coverage. But we try to do that on HSA Radio Network online as we try to highlight as many players from every team as we possibly can. All right, we're going to go to the top of the hour break here. Stay tuned. 1 hour left coming up here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. All right.
All good.
Rocking and rolling. I didn't get a chance to watch Alabama and Purdue. What happened last month?
Well, we took about a 6 or 7 point lead, and then Purdue went on like a run. We never started double teaming their interior guy who's not bad, but he had like one move, and we just never double teamed. I think we should, in hindsight. But I mean, there were some people going, "We're not as good as we thought." I said, "Guys, that place was nuts."
Where was it?
At Purdue.
It was at Purdue, yeah.
And they got 15,000 people,
right?
And it's built kind of like Neville. I mean, they're right on top of it.
It's hard to go on the road and win, man.
Shoot, man, it's tough. And it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I'm like, we're going to lose some games. Shoot, look around the SEC. We're going to lose some games in the SEC too.
Yeah, ain't nobody going undefeated.
We lost to Ohio State about this time last year. People forget that. We went on about a 3-game losing streak this time.
Right.
It's just tough, man. I mean, it's basketball. Some of these teams, and this schedule is going to be the Dickens. But I'm glad. It was a fun game to watch. Mark Sears, was kind of off. We were off shooting the three a little bit. Jaron Stevenson, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't think he's made a three all year.
What Aiden Holloway do? Is he doing anything?
He hit a three last night, and he had a couple other buckets. He was okay. He wasn't great.
Right.
But like last night, LeBaron Philon was a dude. I mean, like he ain't.
I knew he was going to be.
I didn't know he was going to be this good. I mean, he's looking like the best newcomer we have. Aiden Sherrill didn't really do much. He got in foul trouble. Darian Reed was okay. I'd mentioned Holloway, who's another newcomer. I'm just trying to think. Oh, Amori's good. I mean, he's big.
Right.
He's just mean. But he's not a 20 points a game guy. Shit, LeBaron Philon had 18 points, like 4 assists, 5 rebounds. Now
I knew that. To me, I knew that guy was going to be an X factor.
He fouled out, but I mean, as I said on the live thing afterwards, he fouled out, but there were effort fouls. It wasn't like cheapies. I mean, he was trying to hustle and do things, and sometimes you foul.
Right.
My coach used to tell me, now he wasn't, always the best, but he said, if you don't have a foul, you ain't playing.
Yeah, you ain't doing something right.
Because I was scared to get a foul. He's like, you better hit somebody.
Why not give you 5 of them?
Yeah.
Well, it's just going to be.
Where's game day? Are they at Athens?
I don't know. Need to flip over there.
Ain't a great day for games,
No. Not at all. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air, before we dive into college, Glenn said Wadley has a 9th grade defensive lineman you have to see. I've heard about him, Glenn. I heard he is unbelievable. I'm sure he'll start getting looks like the Wilkes kid and the other running back for Wadley. Luke, they're not just a one-man band over there. You know, a lot of people think, 1A football, they got one guy, and they do, but they got 4 or 5 guys. And
they got several one guys.
And when you put 4 or 5 on a team like that, good luck to you is all I can tell you. I mean, just they're built to win a state title, and it's not just one guy they're having to rely on. And, we'll see how they end up. But, I like Wadley moving forward. All right, Luke, let's dive into some college football. Again, like you and I just talked about, not the best day. You're going to have these weeks. Every week can't be a banner week all the way across. And we'll start in SEC play. As we just talked about, we'll talk more about it. La Monroe travels to Auburn. That game is at 11:45. Texas will be at Arkansas. That'll be at the 11 o'clock ABC ESPN Plus game. Murray State will be at Kentucky at 12:30. Mercer will be at Alabama at 1 o'clock on the SEC Network Plus, ESPN Plus. LSU at Florida at 2:30 today on ABC. Missouri at South Carolina, which could be intriguing a little bit, maybe.
Okay, let me stop you there. That game is fun, but nobody outside of SEC people will get it. And even SEC people, because we look at them as like, these are relative newcomers to the league. I know South Carolina's been in since 92 and Missouri's been in since 2012, but they're still like not original SEC guys, right? It still seems kind of weird. But that is a fun game, and I'm telling you, I think South Carolina may open up a can on them because that.
I do too, because they don't have. Is Brady Cook back? He's not back.
I don't think he's playing. I think it's going to be Pine again, and Pine's just not very good. And they beat Oklahoma, but that was the weirdest, unbelievable. I mean, it was like Oklahoma returns a fumble for a touchdown and take a lead in the final 3 minutes.
Right.
Pine somehow, incredibly, is able to lead them down for a touchdown that Theo Wease catches, puts one foot down. That was beautiful. And then Missouri, as Oklahoma is very stupidly trying to get in position for a field goal with their terrible offense, they lose a fumble and Missouri returns it for a touchdown. It was bizarre, but Missouri is the better team. But this
South Carolina's playing out. They're playing great football right now.
Lenora Sellers. I mean, you don't want to play South Carolina right now.
No, you don't. They're having a phenomenal year, and they're number 21. Missouri's 23, and they're both going in opposite directions. So, all right, Tennessee and Georgia's the game in the SEC today. That's at 6:30 tonight on ABC. At Georgia, Tennessee's number 7. Georgia's number 12. Georgia is, if they lose this, they're out. I mean, I think they're out, and I think Tennessee is out too if they lose. But Tennessee can really solidify themselves moving into the SEC championship game and a playoff berth with a win on the road at Georgia. And it's doable, man. Georgia's not playing great. Tennessee can go in there and they can take the next step, Luke, with their program by getting a big win today.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen if Nico Iamaleava is playing today. If he's not, I don't see how in the world they win. Now, their defense may keep them in it because Georgia's offense is really sputtering right now. It's just, again, this Mike Bobo offense is kind of do that, right? And I think Tennessee has more of a shot than I thought. If Nico plays, and he hadn't been awesome this year. He's been.
Is it Iamaleava? Is it Iamaleava? How you say it?
Iamaleava.
Yeah, that's it. Iamaleava. Glenn said he's supposed to play today.
Well, if he does play, I think that certainly makes it more interesting. But now here's the thing: you say if Tennessee loses, they're out. I'm sort of with you. I mean, I think what some people is going to create one of those 10-2 log jams if assuming everything plays out.
Right.
Georgia probably be 10-2, Bama 10-2, Tennessee would be 10-2. Who else? Ole Miss would probably be 10-2.
Right.
And a lot of those teams in there, especially the Georgia, Tennessee, Bama trifecta, they all beat each other at their respective places, right? So that would make it a little difficult. But in the end, I think you're right. I think Tennessee – actually, I don't know. Georgia may be odd man out.
I think they are. Could be. Kyle, I'm real stoked that Peyton Thorne said he got that shoulder right just in time to get the start today. So yeah, I'm so stoked over here. I can't refrain myself. Top 25 around the country. You look around, there's just not, like you said, not a lot of matchups to talk about. They're really the only matchup of two ranked teams, that South Carolina, Missouri, and that Georgia, Tennessee game. That's it.
It's not. You got Oregon, Wisconsin tonight, but I don't think people really believe Wisconsin's got much of a chance. Maybe I haven't looked at the weather. Maybe it's freezing cold and that'll affect Oregon somehow. I don't know. Luke Fickell it's time for Luke Fickell to get a win. Now, since we're on the subject of college football, and stop us if we need to go to break.
Yeah.
But the college football playoff ranking, I'm having a real problem with this. There are a lot of people who don't like committees and they don't like all this. I think college football needs a committee. There are too many teams. You can't just slot everybody in. I really hate that the champions get automatic buys and all that stuff. I think it's stupid that BYU may get a bye. They obviously don't play an incredibly tough schedule, and they're obviously not as good as some of these other teams that have 2 losses that do. But what really bothers me is Indiana being at number 5.
Right.
Their schedule's ranked number 100 or so, somewhere in that neighborhood. They've beaten nobody. The one team that even has a slight pulse is Michigan, and that's just because they won the national championship last year. And this team is totally different from that one, even down to the coaching staff. If Indiana beats Ohio State, you'll have no qualms from me. I think they should be in the playoffs and be up there high. If they lose to Ohio State, I would kick Indiana out 100%. And I just feel like, and you can say, well, they can only play the teams in front of them. Yeah, but the teams in front of them are Western Illinois and Charlotte. They can control that. And that's on them. They need to learn a lesson. We've seen teams learn these lessons in the NCAA basketball selection committee. I know Alabama did back in the early 2000s, where Alabama beat a Georgia team head-to-head. Alabama had 20 wins. This Georgia team had 14 wins. And guess who got in? Georgia, because they played a tough schedule. And from that point forward, Mark Gottfried said, I'm always going to play a hard schedule and let the rough end drag. And I think that's how we should look at this with football. If you don't look at it that way, then if I'm Alabama, if I'm Ohio State, if I'm any of these teams, I'll call every single team that's on my schedule that is worth its salt in the non-conference and say, I'm canceling this series. Alabama next year has Florida State. I know they stink this year. Insert your own joke. But they also play Florida State and Wisconsin and South Florida, I think. No, it's not South Florida. But those 2 teams alone, 2 Power 4 conference teams that are pretty good historically, I would, for Alabama, I'd call and say, they're off. I'm going to put Mercers in there.
Well, you don't get any benefit from them anymore. And we're about to move away from all that totally as we get into this Power 4. You're not going to have these games like Alabama and Auburn have today. You're just not going to have them anymore. Kyle said, same for Notre Dame, Luke. He said they even lost to Northern Illinois.
Agreed. And Notre Dame's schedule, this team is weak, but I'll say this. They didn't put Notre Dame – I would have Notre Dame higher than Indiana. I would. At least they've played Texas A&M. At least they've tried to play somebody. To
me, it's a one-shot deal for Indiana. If they beat Ohio State, then they deserve to get in. If they 100%. Don't, all right,
they should already be in the playoff. That's my point. Is just like last week, everybody was like, Alabama, LSU's an elimination game. It's already in the playoffs. Indiana's already in the playoffs. If they lose a game, they're out. From this point forward, they lose a game, they're out.
I'm with you. All right, let's take another break for TV. We'll come back right after this break. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be able to just have one game and
I know some people will say, well, we're Indiana. You're telling me Indiana couldn't even schedule Kentucky? You're telling me Indiana couldn't schedule, I don't know, trying to think somebody.
Well, they're so used to losing, Luke. They built the schedule so they could get some wins to get to 6-6. And now all of a sudden they've got a good football team and they're like, well, crap. I really think that may be part of it. They're like, because Indiana sucks every year. And it's like, okay, we need to get some teams so we can get to a bowl game. And now all of a sudden they got a great team, and now the schedule could bite them in the rear end.
And you know what? Mission accomplished. You will get to a bowl game, and you should be rewarded for your great season. But to put you in the playoffs over teams that have played like Georgia.
Right.
I know Georgia's lost twice. They played Clemson. They played Georgia Tech, who, by the way, beat Miami. They've played.
No, I totally agree with that. And and I think Indiana may should come out and say, "Hey, look, we hadn't been good in God knows when, and we built a schedule to try to build our program up. And we got a new coach, and now we've gotten good, and all we could do was play the schedule." And I think they could. If people understand that, man. I mean, and yeah. In the moment, they'd be disappointed they didn't make the playoff, but it's like, crap, now go schedule a few more harder teams, and one loss won't keep you out.
Yep, 100%. And it just it's time for the committee to hold some of these teams, these other teams, accountable. They always talk about holding the big boys accountable, and it's not just brand bias. I mean, it's look, you have brand bias for a reason.
Right.
You know why? Because Ohio State's good. Alabama's good. These teams have been good. Georgia's good. And you have a brand bias for them, sure. But they also win a lot. So Indiana has a crappy brand right now, but it's getting better. But you can't just go from having a crap band to be like, hey, I'm here. Y'all treat me like everybody else.
I agree. I totally agree. Well, you'll see what Cignetti does next year.
Yeah.
Glenn said, as a Texas fan, thank you to the schedule maker. Now they gave
Texas did get incredibly fortunate. Look, how different would it be if Texas played even, let's say, South Carolina?
Oh, yeah.
Because South Carolina buried Oklahoma. Or
Oklahoma's terrible. God.
Trying to think. Or Texas LSU. That should have been a game.
Yeah, how is that not played?
They messed up with no Texas LSU. I said it with no Bama Mississippi State because they're the closest geographically, and then no Auburn Ole Miss is the dumbest miss. That is, if both teams had lost every game and they played on the last game of the year, it'd be a must-watch TV.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I hate that we didn't play Ole Miss this year. All right, coming back in 10 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. About 40 minutes left in the show this morning. I want to thank everybody for their comments and tuning us in on YouTube. I want to remind everybody on YouTube, Facebook, go out there and like our page. Subscribe on YouTube. Please subscribe. But go out there and find us and subscribe. We want to continue to build that up. And then, of course, all of you that watch throughout the state of Alabama on WOTM, WXCTV, and then listen on 97.5 FM every single Saturday morning. Been coming to you for almost 20 years now with Saturday Sports Countdown, Luke, which is wild. But thanks to JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air for being our two partners there throughout, and we really appreciate them. Again, going back to the college football playoff, if you look at the rankings.
Hey, Brett, before you start that, let's ask this. We got a lot of people watching. Do y'all like this format? I mean, we're not going to change it. It doesn't matter to us if you like. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, you're polling somebody's like.
Yeah, it's not going to change. But we would like to know if you like it. It is, I mean, I'll tell you, because one of the reasons it is difficult to get up to the station for a lot of us. And I feel like this does sort of give more free I hate to say free speech. It's not like we couldn't say what we wanted to say before, but it's like a little more casual.
From logistics, it's a logistical thing. Yeah. I mean, now you can do the show from wherever. I mean, like last week after the Spanish Fort game, we went down to our condo and stayed all weekend. And, it was Veterans Day, so we had a little bit of a holiday. I mean, I took my computer down there and went live after, a game, and then we went live on Monday morning like we do every Monday, me and Randy did. So, you're really accessible. You could have gone to Africa with Krista. Luke, you could have done the show from the Serengeti down there.
No, I like my big owls in Tuscaloosa. I don't need to see any more elephants. I've ridden an elephant in India. I don't need to ride any more elephants.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, so yeah, but we appreciate the feedback on that. I have had several texts this morning saying they love what we're doing and to keep doing it. And again, earlier had a comment that from John that they liked. He liked the between the breaks on the line, so we can just kind of have conversation and talk amongst ourselves and all that while we have the commercials running on TV. Glenn said schools, or like Brett said, got to put bigger schools on the schedule. So yeah, right. I mean, it's got to you start doing that. And look, we didn't say this on TV, Luke, and radio, so we'll say it here. Indiana probably had their schedule. We're hammering them because they got a weak schedule. Well, Indiana sucked for a long time. So when they built this schedule, they're thinking, I'm building a schedule that's going to get us to a bowl game. The reason they got Western Illinois and all this is because they're trying to win 6 games. But guess what Cignetti's done? He's turned their program around. So all they could do is play the schedule they have. So they don't have very many tough teams, and they're running over people. And in the moment, they're saying, crap, we deserve to be in the playoffs. And as of right now, they do. They got to play Ohio State, and that'll determine in our minds if they really belong. If they lose that game, Luke, you and I both said we're fine with them. So the committee saying, okay, you really only played one team. It's worth a darn. It's not fair to some of these other teams that had to play somebody in the top 10 and top 15 every week, it seemed like. So we're going to knock you out. You're still going to get a really good bowl game because that's what your goal was anyway. Next year's schedule a little bit tougher and win a couple of those games and then have this same run and you'll for sure be in. So, but we can already hear it. We can already hear it if the committee decides to do that, Luke. All the people saying Indiana got screwed. If they get left out and they lost one game and how'd they do that? Well, I'm just telling you, I'm with you. I think that's the right thing to do here.
Ask yourself this, as a college football fan, what do you want? Do you want more Bama Mercers, Auburn, La Monroes? Do you want more of that? If you do, great. Let Indiana in because that's the message you're sending.
Right.
But I'm a college football fan, just like I'm a college basketball fan. See, I want more. Look at the college basketball side.
You want more cowbell.
I want more Alabama playing at Purdue at Mackey Arena. And then, you know what? Then Alabama plays, I think our stretch now goes Purdue at Purdue, Illinois and Birmingham, then Vegas against Houston, Rutgers, and Notre Dame, then at I think it's at North Carolina, and then Creighton at home. Creighton, who had a guy who scored 49 points, which is like the 4th highest total in NCAA history on opening night. Yeah, I want that. And so if Alabama only goes 3-3 in that stretch or however many games there are, I can live with that because you know what? We battle tested. And I want Alabama to play Wisconsin and Florida State, and they got Ohio State and Notre Dame coming up in football. I want those games. But if those games aren't going to matter to the committee, if it's only the W's and the L's, then I'm going to schedule a bunch of soup cans.
Well, you should. Look, you play the game, you play the hand that you dealt. And then, if that's what's going to count and they're going to give equal credence to that, then you'd be stupid to go out there and schedule a bunch of non-conference tough games. Your conference schedule is already going to be tough enough. You better go grab those 2 or 3, like you call them, soup cans, to kind of help your stock go up. Because if you don't, then you're only killing yourself if that's the way the committee wants to look at it.
And Danny Cannell, who is, Mr. Anti-SEC, and he always says, big brand bias, and the SEC has sort of built itself up and does all this marketing. Look, the facts are the facts. The SEC has more players drafted every year than every other conference. The SEC has won more in the college football playoff than any other conference. The SEC has more Heisman winners over the last 20 some odd years than any other conference. More All-Americans. Look at how the guys perform in the pros. Again, and you're saying, well, the pros shouldn't count. But what it does is tell you what they go up against every week.
Right.
If Indiana had come in and played an SEC schedule this year, a legit SEC schedule, they'd probably have 4 or 5 losses. I know we'll never know because we can't do it. But if you think I'm wrong, you're nuts.
I'm with you 1,000%. I think, look, we're going to get to see the first edition of how this 12-team playoff plays out. And, it's a work in progress right now. The way these rankings are, that's not how it's going to finish. We know that. A lot of moving and shaking that's got to go on. I mean, Boise's leading the group of 5 that's got to have a spot in there, and they're 13 right now, so they got to take somebody's place at some point. So there's a lot of moving and shaking. We'll see who gets bumped. We'll see who not stays in, but we'll see kind of what their mindset is. They don't even know what their mindset is because they don't know what it's going to look like the last week of the season. All right, let's take another break here for TV. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this. What if Army beats Notre Dame? Gonna cause a ruckus. Could happen for sure. Army is 24th and 9-0. I mean, that's a good question. We need to ask what's the difference between Army right now and Indiana? What is the difference between those two?
Yeah, we'll go for that. Hey, and then we'll go to the world.
Yeah, and then I'll get my thing packed.
Oh yeah, you can pack it? Okay. Wish I had her life. She had a birthday party at the Jumpy Park yesterday and went out last night and hung out with some friends. Today she got basketball she slept in, and then now she's watching Home Alone and take her to a basketball game, and then she gets to go with some friends to the Bama game who are going to go late, just wait on her to go for a little bit. And then she goes to the Pink concert tonight.
Pink?
Pink, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, she just went to Taylor Swift in New Orleans a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So works out for me. I get to stay at home by my dang self. It's where I'm a Viking. Everybody keeps saying, aren't you lonely? I'm like, no. Yes, I'm lonely, but that's by design.
I like being a hermit.
Yeah. I mean, what I want to be out there with all y'all for? Y'all getting in trouble.
You didn't want to go see Pink swing from the rafters?
No, she's going with some friends of hers that are about her age and their parents. And so
I'm sure she's pretty glad that you're not going to. So
it probably look. But tomorrow I got to do a fun run with her. And I said, those two words don't go together.
Yeah, I was going to say that's probably what is that? An oxymoron?
Mm-hmm. If you see me running, look behind me. Something's chasing me.
What's that?
If you see me running, look behind me. Something's chasing me.
All right, here we go in about 10 seconds.
Okay.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. About 20 minutes left in the show today. Make sure you get your comments in, your questions, everything that you have as we come down the stretch here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. All right, so Ed said, well, let me go back to Glenn's comment first. He said, what if Army beats Notre Dame? And I was going to ask you this. What's the difference really in Notre Dame? I mean, not Notre Dame, but Army and Indiana right now, Luke. I mean, Army's 9-0, and they're 24th in the rankings right now. Tell me what the difference is between those two programs and why they're so far off.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I guess Indiana, because they're in a Power 4 conference.
That's the only difference.
But the gap of number 5 to number 20, whatever it is silly. If you're going to buy into Indiana, you got to buy into Army too. And my point is they both should be closer to the 12-13 mark. Now, if Army beats Notre Dame, I think it's going to mean more for Notre Dame than it does for Army. Now, there'll be some people saying, well, how can you not put Army in? I mean, look, I think it's a great story. This is what I was worried about with expansion, that Army can't win a national championship. We know this. Can they go in and beat Notre Dame? They can, because Northern Illinois also did it. And I think if Army does beat Notre Dame's they're gone.
Right.
But and if Army were to finish undefeated, then I mean, if you want to put them at 12, fine. But I think what you're also arguing is the whole thing about this 12-team expansion was, well, we got to get the 12 best teams in there. We're clearly not doing that. So let's quit pretending that we're doing that. And then so people will want to expand some more. And again, expansion is never going to stop now. And what it does, just like I said with high school earlier, right, that you can go 4-6 or 5-5, and it's not a big deal as long as you do something in the playoffs. Well, some people like that setup. I personally don't, because college football, the regular season has always been so important. Right now, it's not feeling the effects. This is also new and so dramatic. I think it's a lot of fun. I have no doubt. I'm not saying it's not fun, but what I am saying is the more you expand and the more you start getting towards, they're 8-5, but they're better than you think, and they've been injured and they did this and done that. Or they're 13-0 and they hadn't played anybody at all. They've played a 4A schedule, but let's let them in and see what they can do. That's the kind of stuff I hate. I mean, everybody loves to talk about how much they hate the eye test, but the eye test is the best test there is.
Right.
I mean, outside of the actual results of a good on good, when you go out there and you look, the eye test, Alabama, Notre Dame in 2012, when Kirk Herbstreit said, oh my God, Alabama came on the field, and I looked over at Notre Dame and thought, this isn't going to be close. Guess what? It wasn't close.
Yeah, I think when you look down this ranking right now, Oregon's the unanimous number 1 team in the country, and then you got Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Indiana, BYU, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Miami at 9, Alabama at 10, Ole Miss at 11, now Georgia at 12 after they lost to that Ole Miss team. And then you got Boise sitting on the outside at 8-1, along with SMU at 8-1, and then Texas A&M, who still has life at 7-2 if they can win out and somehow, because they'll beat Texas in that run if they win. So, like you said, I think everybody's looking at a possible logjam at the top of the SEC, a bunch of 10-2 teams possibly. With the way this thing plays out, it's going to be a mess trying to figure all that out. And then, somebody that goes to the SEC championship game, Luke, could that hurt them?
I don't think so. Now, the only way I think it could hurt you is if you went into it with 3 losses and that ends up being your 4th. Okay. But let's say it's Alabama and let's say Ole Miss. I mean, I'm pulling 2 out there. I don't even know what the mathematical probability of that is, but if those 2 make it to the SEC title game, I think both of those 2 teams would be in. Right. And I think they should be, because what you're essentially playing for then is a bye. And frankly, I'm going to say this too, Brett, as an Alabama fan, and I love the SEC championship game. I've been to a bunch of them. I went to the very first one. Right. I went to the one in 2012, which is one of the best games I've ever played. I went to the one in 2018 when Jalen Hurts relieved Tua against Georgia, in one of the most remarkable games I've ever seen. I've been when Alabama beat Georgia with Bryce Young's performance. I've been to all these SEC. I went last year. When Alabama won the SEC championship, I've been to all these, and they've all been fun. I love it. The environment is second to none. Having said that, I don't want Alabama to go to it this year. You know what? And this is again something else I was worried about with expansion. I don't want them to go to it this year, because if we go to it and we lose, okay, we won't be out, in my opinion, but we might drop a little bit.
Right.
If we don't go, then we have a good shot at being number 5. Now, a lot of things have to happen, but here's where number 5 is better than being, say, number 3 or something, right? Because at number 5, if you don't play in the SEC championship game, so after the Iron Bowl, Alabama would get a respite. Now, then, yes, they'd have to play earlier than everybody else because they'd be in that first round. But it's a home game where you make a bunch of money. And you play the worst team available, which will be an Army, a Boise State, somebody like that. So you make a bunch of money with that. Then if you win, you play the worst of the teams that got the bye, which will probably be a BYU or an Arizona State or whoever wins the Big 12 all of a sudden. Now, so your 2 games that you – instead of play, if you play in the SEC championship game, you play a tough team, you might lose and you get fall back. So there's your first round game. And then you have to play, you get a bye week. If you win it, that's great. But you probably are going to be, as an SEC champ, the 2 or 3 seed, and you're going to have to play somebody who's like number 6 or 11. And that'll be in another SEC team potentially. And so what I'm saying is your path is harder going through the SEC championship game than it is if you don't go and you're the 5 seed.
The magic number in this whole seed thing is the number 5 seed.
I would have the number 5. If you told me Alabama always has number 5 seed but never wins the SEC title game, I'd take that every year. And that's a bad precedent, Brett.
It is Glenn said, can you opt out of a conference championship game?
No, you can't do that. No. And
well, I'm going to tell you something. If it starts affecting the way teams get seeded and play, look, you're playing for a conference championship, and it always means something. Andy and I talk about that all the time. But now in this new era of college football, maybe it doesn't mean as much anymore, and it's just another hurdle. It's just enough, but it's hard to get rid of it because of money. Unless you want to incorporate it into the playoff scenario somehow.
How much did winning the SEC basketball tournament last year help Auburn?
Didn't help them.
And I know that the committee would say something like, well, instead of being a 4 seed, they might have been a 5 seed. Well, shoot, I probably would have rather been a 5 seed. I wouldn't have to play Yale, who was underseeded as they were.
Right.
So, and not only that, you had to play more games. So maybe you're a little tired. That Auburn team last year wasn't super deep. You know, I mean, I'm saying we have sold our souls for a lot of money on this stuff. Like
we sell our souls for money controls everything.
And I get it, but we're too greedy to give up something. I'm all for getting rid of the SEC basketball tournament. It's stupid. A team with a losing record can win it, and now they get to play for a championship. It's stupid. I'm all for getting rid of the SEC championship game in football. I love it, and I love the SEC basketball tournament. But if we're going to do these expanded tournaments, get rid of those things.
Yep. Let's get to break, and then we'll come back. We'll keep this going. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this. I mean, they're going to have to step up and eliminate. They're going to have to eliminate the championship game. It don't mean anything anymore. I mean, what now that you don't have divisions in the SEC, like you got this logjam at the top, you're going to end up going through all these tiebreakers and all, and it's going, okay, y'all 2 get to go. And these other schools are like, well, I'm just as good as them. Does that really show that we had a true SEC champion? I mean, you remember back in the day where you just finished the year, and if there were a bunch of teams 9-2, shit, everybody got, you get a share. I mean, everybody gets a share of y'all can hang a banner. Congratulations. Because there was no way to play everybody. So you didn't get a real true champion. So now you don't have divisions. So now you can't win a division and go represent your division in a championship game. So it don't mean anything to me anymore.
Kyle Hamby, I hope he can hear us, right?
Yeah, he can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Kyle Hamby says no different with the 4-team system in 17 when Auburn beat a number 1 UGA and number 1 Bama in a 3-week span, pretty much locked us in, and we lost to Georgia. It's not the same, Kyle. Let me tell you why. You had 4 teams then, not 12. I'm going to tell you what, if we had the 12-team system, then Auburn would have 100% been in, 100%. But you had 2 losses already. That's the problem. In a 4-team, there's no way to justify putting in a 3-loss team with a 4-team playoff. In a 12-team, 100% that Auburn team would have been in, no doubt in my mind. And that's the difference. If Auburn and see, I make the argument. Everybody goes, "Well, we were punished for playing in the SEC title game." No, you were rewarded because if Auburn needed to make up for the 2 losses they had. So if they go to the SEC championship game and win it, they're probably a 2 seed.
Yeah,
You know, that was had started the playoffs right then.
Yeah, that was a tough stretch at the end to play Georgia, Alabama, Georgia.
Well, here's the other thing. If Auburn had just beaten, say, LSU that year,
Right.
then with 2 losses, I think Auburn's in.
That's right.
Even with losing the SEC title game.
Right.
But they had 2 losses going into it. That's my point.
Yeah.
If they only had 1 loss going into it, I think they are a lock.
Why this light won't just
It gives you a thing on it,
it just keeps
a halo or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I get that sometimes.
But the SEC title game doesn't matter anymore because the divisions are gone. I mean,
Right.
You just got 16 teams now, and
Glenn Toller said, you said you want Bama at 5 every year, so you lose games on purpose. I don't know about losing. I mean, I never want to lose, but I'm just saying if you gave me a deal that. And then Kyle Hamby says, if beating number 1 twice in a 3-week span doesn't make up for it, then I don't know what will. But I see where you're going. No, it doesn't make up for it. You had 2 losses, and then you got a third. There are only 4 teams that get in. And
here we go.
With 3 losses, you can't be put in then. I totally get that.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. A couple segments left on the show today, so get your comments in. We appreciate all of the comments that have been coming in throughout the program. You make what we do. You make the show. I mean, bottom line, the conversation back and forth. So keep the comments coming in. Make sure you go out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate that so very much. All our viewers out on WAXC and WOTM statewide, and then on 97.5 Clyde Country Saturday Sports Countdown. Almost 20 years on the air. Will be next summer, officially 20 years on the air. So
what kind of
excited
party
about that. All right, so Luke, we've talked a lot about college football. It's not the best schedule. Let's talk about college basketball for a little bit. Alabama had that game against Purdue last night. You really haven't gone into much detail. Alabama fell 87-78. Again, you're not gonna go undefeated in college basketball. You had to go on the road to a tough team and play Purdue at their place. And it was 42-40 at half, Purdue, and then they were able to kind of get enough cushion there at the end of the game to win it. But LeBaron Philon had 18 points for Alabama last night. And just kind of your thoughts on that game last night.
Fun game, really fun early season game. Purdue hit a crazy 3-pointer at the buzzer of halftime. Alabama would have gone in with the lead. Things like that, tend to always jack a team up. But give Alabama credit. They had a big run, took a 6 or 7 point lead about midway through the second. And then give Purdue credit. They went on a run of their own. And they ended up getting a big lead, double digits at one point. And Alabama didn't really go away, but towards the end, they just sort of faltered. Mark Sears did not have his best game, only 15 points. We're going to have to get more out of him than that. Aiden Sherrill looked like a freshman out there. Amori played well, but he's never going to be the superstar. Aiden Holloway, guy Auburn people know all about, again,
He had 7 points.
He was fine, but we're going to need more out of him. I mean, he's going to have to start. Alabama had a lot of open shots last night. They missed them.
Yeah, he was only one of four from outside Alabama as a whole. 9 of 29. Purdue only hit 9, but they were more efficient. They were 9 of 16 from outside.
Yeah, and see, Bama rebounding. I thought they did a pretty good job. Purdue's a big team, but Grant Nelson knocking some rust off. I think he had 11 rebounds and 12 points, something like that. LeBaron Philon's a dude. I mean, he's the kind of guy you're going to love. I'll tell you who, his name escapes me right now. The kid who transferred that always had the crazy look on his face for Auburn the last couple of years, Brett.
Are you talking about KD Johnson?
KD Johnson. LeBaron Philon reminds me of a much more talented KD Johnson.
Yeah.
Like he's got an it factor about him.
Got a lot of energy, man.
And he's got energy, but KD Johnson was like wild as a buck. You didn't know what he was going to do, but he always had that crazy look in his eyes, and you could tell he loves basketball, right? LeBaron Philon's got that, but he's a scorer, and he had assists, he had rebounds, he had steals, and he fouled out. But as I told Brett, that hey, he fouled out with effort fouls. These weren't cheapies like a mild slap at somebody going to the rim, that really didn't give a lot of effort. No, these were fouls. And an effort foul, I don't fault him. So it's a loss, and you hate to have a loss, and it'll bump Alabama back. And so what? Like I said, I mentioned earlier, Alabama's got they got Illinois in Birmingham. There'll be no easy task next Wednesday. Then they've got that Vegas tournament where they play a Houston team that Auburn's already beaten. That's very, very good. And then they'll play Rutgers. That's got two of the top 3 freshmen in the country. Then they'll probably play Notre Dame, all in Vegas. Then they come back and play North Carolina, and they also play Creighton. I mean, Alabama's just got this run of games with nothing sandwiched in between. Right. And I'm here for it. It makes watching the games fun.
It does make them fun, a lot of fun. And you look at Auburn. I'll shift over and let you give your thoughts on Auburn, man. Look, very good win for Auburn over Houston after the plane debacle stuff. And look, well, I know everybody kind of, and it was a shock to us too, but guys get in fights at football practice all the time, and we don't see it. And when you got a competitive nature, it's just the way it is. Now, I'm not excusing being on a plane and getting in a tussle. That's inexcusable. Bruce Pearl handled it. These 2 guys have been suspended, and we'll see when they're able to come back, and hopefully they'll learn from it. But I thought this team showed some maturity going out to play a Houston team in their backyard after something like that, and then you turn around and you go out and perform the way they perform. So Auburn really showed the country that they're going to be a tough team to be dealt with, because they have a great defensive mindset. And Luke, they've got some weapons offensively. We saw our first glimpse of Tahad Pettiford and what he can do. And so I like the way this team's put together. Again, they're not going undefeated either. They got North Alabama on Monday. Then they got to go to the Maui Invitational. Then they've still got Purdue that Alabama played. They'll play them in Birmingham. And then they've got Ohio State in Atlanta before the conference schedule gets started. So still a tough road to hoe in the non-conference for both Auburn and Alabama. But I was impressed with them going out and getting that win.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, Houston's a tough team. They play really hard, showed a lot of grit. Look, the SEC's doing pretty well overall. Kentucky takes down Duke.
Big
I didn't really see that coming. That's good for them. I mean, again, I'm one of those that when Kentucky's good, and it's good for the conference. If Kentucky's down, no matter how good Alabama and Auburn are, people are going to be like, well, the SEC's down this year. So when Kentucky's good and Alabama and Auburn are good, I think it's great.
Yeah, no doubt. But you're right. I didn't see everybody kind of written Kentucky off as hey, man, they're drifting off. Calipari gone, and Pope coming in, and not much talk, but they silenced that big time. Before we go to break here, Glenn said he loves the way college basketball has started, and Chaney Johnson really grew this all season. No doubt about it. Chaney Johnson has been an X factor so far. He got in the weight room. He got stronger. He's more confident. He's had a couple really good basketball games so far in the early season. So excited about the way Chaney Johnson is playing. All right, Luke, we're going to go ahead and take our final break here on the Saturday Sports Countdown for TV. So when we come back, one final segment here on this Saturday. Glenn said KU still a blue blood. Yeah, I think they'll always be a blue blood.
KU and UK.
Yep, both of them.
I don't know which one he meant.
Yeah, I think that's what he meant. But they both blue bloods.
Yeah. KU is Kansas, just letting you know.
Right.
I mean, people do, and UK is Kentucky. I mean, I know a lot
Right.
of people get that mixed up, but and why it's Kansas University, I don't know.
I don't either.
Doesn't make sense. Maybe is there another University of Kansas something? I've always wondered.
Not that I know of.
I mean, shoot, I don't know why Auburn and University of Auburn. It's just city. I don't know how they determine what that's going to be.
Well, we're not a state, so it's Auburn University.
Yeah, University of Houston.
Do what?
It's University of Houston.
Yeah, that's true.
University of Phoenix.
Glenn said, my bad.
Yeah, Glenn, quit screwing up. But it's one of those things that
That's why when guys go in there and everybody wants to make a big deal about it. When have you ever heard Alabama called Alabama University? I've never heard them called that. Never. But I've heard Auburn University called University of Auburn a month.
Well, but again, because I almost wonder why it's not University of Auburn. I mean,
if we went University of Auburn, we'd be U of A too, and that.
Oh, that makes
our logo.
They thought that far ahead.
Our logo wouldn't be. I mean, it'd be U and A. I don't know. It's odd.
It'd be UAU.
Just put the tiger on the side of it. Be done. Alabama said, "We just gonna stick a number on."
Yeah.
Hey,
I'll tell you what.
Hey, here's Alabama. How they got the numbers on the helmets. Everybody's like, I can't find my helmet.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we're gonna put a number on the
it.
side, and then when you go see it, you go get the number. You go get your helmet.
I'm sort of glad though, because UAB just changed their deadgum logo again. I'm so tired of logos and everything changed. Like Oregon, Oregon's different because that's sort of their thing.
Right.
They never wear the same uniform twice. Okay. But whenever everybody else does it, I don't like it so much.
No, I'm with you.
Just find something that's good and stick with it.
Alabama said, we ain't going to complicate this thing.
No, we're going to give you a number. 8675309.
The equipment manager appreciates.
UK pull a lane with the transfer portal. I don't know what that means.
They went out and got players out of the pool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Pope did. So,
yeah,
to help. All right, coming back in about 15 seconds. It's been good, man. This has worked out great.
A lot better.
And I can go to the studio, like you said, and I'd be right there with Ryan and Russ and whoever. And then I don't have to watch it. I don't have to do a stopwatch. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the final segment of the Saturday Sports Countdown. Did a little bit different today. Went the podcast formats, worked out great. And, Luke, new ways to do things, and it helps get you back in the fold because you don't have to drive an hour and 45 minutes to Allen City at 5:30 in the morning on a Saturday. So you get to kind of stay in the friendly confines of your house. And look, if I have to go up to the studio, I'm only 3 minutes from the studio, so I can go up there and do it. So I don't have to watch a stopwatch like I've been running relay races for everybody all day. But anyway. So only thing that we can't do is take phone calls. Justin just asked, can you do some phone calls through our format? Possibly. Don't know how that works yet, but I'm sure with technology the way it is and Netflix buffering on their fight last night, we can figure some way out to do it. But anyway.
Well, you know what it's like, Brett? It's like we're talking about Indiana's got to earn their stripes. We got to earn our stripes too. We can't just go straight into being awesome with technology. We got to earn it.
Right.
You
got to earn it, man. We got to earn our buffering here. So, so just to close out here, you got about 5 minutes on this segment before we close out. Again, we want to thank everybody for joining us in this format and the comments and the communication back and forth. All right, Luke, let's just kind of go around and talk about a few of these games. All right, we've talked about them a little bit earlier, but South Carolina and Missouri, South Carolina get it done today?
I think they do. It's at South Carolina. I feel like they're the better team. They've got it sort of going on. South Carolina is going to probably, if they end up winning out, and by the way, that would include a win over Clemson, they will have an argument to be in the discussion for the playoff. They won't get in, but they'll be in the discussion, which is light years from where people.
If they win one of those games against Alabama or LSU, they would be in, I think.
Well, again, you know how much I hate it when people say, well, the officials did this.
Right.
The officials cost them the game 100%. And so, yeah, if they had beaten LSU and their only losses would be to Alabama and, gosh, help me out. I don't know who the other one was. I can't remember.
Who did they lose to?
They beat A&M.
Now I've got to find it. Now that you've done this, I've done
it.
Somebody jumps in and
they beat the absolute heck out of Kentucky.
They did. I mean, I'll come up with it. We'll get it. I mean, but they are 6-3 on the season, and they lost to Ole Miss 27-3. Yep.
Yeah, Ole Miss. And again, so if your only losses, if you have two losses, your only losses are to Ole Miss and to Bama.
South Carolina. You lost to Alabama 27-25. You lost to LSU 36-33. Now Ole Miss was a whipping. They beat them pretty convincingly.
But they beat LSU.
That's what I'm saying. But if you get one of those other two, either one of those games, you're probably in.
Well, and Glenn Toller says BYU should have a loss. See, I think South Carolina's a better team. If BYU and South Carolina play today, who do you think wins?
I'm picking South Carolina
all day.
Yep.
And that's where the problem is.
It is. So, all right, let's talk about this. I got a few minutes left right here. Tennessee and Georgia, man. What's the take?
I mean, call me a fool. I'm still going to stick with Georgia. My cohort at Locked On Bama, Jimmy, says Tennessee wins this game. I just don't see it. Tennessee's defense is really good, and they got a good running game. If Georgia loses this game, I think you'll see a little bit of panic out of Athens. Because first of all, what it should tell everybody is how much tougher Nick Saban's run was than people want to give him credit for. Georgia's got all the advantages right now, and if they lose 3 games this year with that team, I mean, people are going to be like, "What the heck?" And it really should be more, "Oh, this is pretty standard because you're playing in the toughest league in the country." And it's very difficult to do it. You can't go to Texas and to Bama and to Ole Miss and play Tennessee and play Clemson and expect to win them all. It's too difficult for anybody.
Yeah, I mean, again, you don't appreciate things a lot of times when you're in the midst of them.
Yep.
And then when it's over, you look back and go, "Good Lord!" Because,
and by the way, doesn't it kind of? I mean, like going back to what somebody said about Texas. Texas's only game this year. I mean, I know they scheduled Michigan, and I give them credit for it. Their only game this year was Georgia, and they got doubled up at home. Why are they getting so much love?
That's a good question. It's just funny how the media latches on to some, and the guys like us that talk and do this every day, they take a liking to somebody based on whatever. So they may be the darling this year. But all right, so to close out, Luke, here, a couple minutes left. High school football playoffs next week, round 3 for the high school playoffs, and then you got the semifinal round for 7A. 7A, we'll know who the state championship participants are after next Friday night, and you got 2 really good football games. You got Thompson and Enterprise, and you got Hoover going over to Phoenix City, and Phoenix City's the defending 7A champs, man. That's going to be a great football game.
If Hoover and Thompson end up playing for it all again, I mean, the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? I mean, it'd be a fun game. And again, selfishly, I kind of want it because it'd be right here in Birmingham, and I think it'd get a good crowd, and it'd be a perfect stadium for it. I mean, Protective is the better venue. We should be talking about that. I mean, I love Bryant-Denny Stadium. You love Jordan-Hare. Both of them have treated us very kindly. I do hate where the press box is in Jordan-Hare, and that will forever.
That sucks. Whoever designed that needs to be.
Well, they just hate media people.
That's
the only explanation.
We can't put you outside the stadium, but we're going to put you in the worst spot.
You're better off watching the TV and trying to call the game. We should do that remotely. If I was Andy Burcham, I'd be like, I'm just going to watch this at my house.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can see at least
hey,
I can
why
see
don't-
what's going on.
he's going to pull
Oh.
StreamYard in and watch it from there. All right, we're out of time here on the show. Again, want to thank everybody. It's been fun. New format for us. We're going to try some different things moving forward, but it was great. Luke, glad to have you back on Saturday Sports Countdown in the rotation, man. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, success.